This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, Joey asks me about being imprecise.
Woo!
Tag team back again. This is what Joey sounds like. And this is what an executive producer and whoomp, there it is, Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess. Also, welcome back.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange to not be here. I don't even remember where I was. Jess.
Yeah.
You want to have some lexical / math fun?
Yeah, sounds like things I like and am known for liking.
Let's discuss field theory and the phonetic alphabet. No, I ran into a post recently of someone showing a fence graph around.
Describe that more.
I think it's called like a box and fence graph, right? Let me just confirm. Box. It is also called box and whisker plots.
I'm more familiar with box and whisker.
I think I heard it. I mean, I'm sure there maybe is a right name, but also it seems like a thing that might have like cute names based on what people think it looks like or cultural differences. But it's something in like a way of showing like probability distributions. I mean, we're explaining it. The middle box is 1 standard deviation. The edges are 2 standard deviations. Typically, although there are different ways to represent that, I believe. I'm pulling back out my statistics classes from undergrad. But
something in the box, most likely end of the box, and the whiskers is more like the range of possible outcomes.
And then you throw outliers in. We're not going to get into that.
Wow.
The statistics wasn't necessarily the interesting part. The interesting part was it was looking at imprecise language around statistics or probabilities that we use sort of colloquially, but that people have sort of generally oriented agreement on the ranges of what those things mean. For example, almost certainly sits somewhere like in the median of almost certainly is like 95% likelihood of happening, where people are like, some researchers gave people these phrases and said, how likely is this scenario to happen, from 0% chance to 100% chance? And then things like little chance as a phrase is under 10%. About even is sitting where you would hope, about straddling a 50% chance of happening. But what's interesting about this is that we have agreement on broadly, like the some of the curves are wider of like we doubt as a phrase, that it's less than 50%, but it's like a multimodal curve where some people are like that means 30% and some people are like that means 10%. But there's broad agreement with imprecise language that we never said like almost certainly means 95%. It just sort of, it has evened out there through usage and conversation. And also there seems to be no phrase for a 30% likely chance of something, where like most of the 10% to 90 or 95% exists, but 30% we don't have like an agreed upon phrase for that. And my question for you is, how many other things do we have that we think of as imprecise but are actually like pretty precise and agreed upon?
Love this. The first thing that came to mind actually was, and I know this is geo specific, so pardon this, but do you remember a couple of years ago, the New York Times shared this super detailed map of New York City neighborhoods as surveyed by residents in those neighborhoods and then asked what neighborhood is this? And it's plotted. It's actually also like a pretty cool data visualization, but it's basically like some neighborhoods are really well defined because it's like, if you are south of Houston, you're in Soho, and everybody agrees because that street is like a well-defined sort of boundary to the neighborhood. But then there are a bunch of other places that are super sort of blurry or grayed out. Residents who have lived in a certain neighborhood for a longer time have well-trod sort of names and perceptions and of the neighborhood and its boundaries, whereas maybe new real estate brokers coming in trying to pitch a new neighborhood idea so that it sells to different people. It's just really interesting to see how all of those some things are nearly universally agreed upon here, and others of like, oh, is that like, at what point does it stop being Harlem and become something else?
Yeah. No, I mean, my neighborhood was like this when we moved. Depending on who you talk to, it's one of 3 neighborhoods. Like, there's what I thought was a made up real estate person name that they gave us is actually a historic district that has been called that for, since like the late 1800s. Then there is like Ditmas Park, which some people are like, I live in Ditmas Park. And then other people are like, this is Flatbush. And like, depending on who you're talking to is like, I'm like, I don't have a stake in this game. I just want to use the term that you would recognize for where I live. But
right.
So then I just started being like, right below the parade grounds. Are you familiar with the parade grounds? Like, I just use geographic markers because no one was agreeing on what I should call my neighborhood.
Yeah. What's cool about it too is it feels kind of like a hot and cold game of like, oh, well, we know that generally this place is east of this place. But exactly at what point it's like, and now we're here, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Those boundaries are really difficult. But generally, if someone were to say, if you're well acquainted with New York, like, where is Carroll Gardens relative to Park Slope? You'd say, oh, it's northwest of Park Slope. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, generally, we all can agree on that. But at what point, the different neighborhoods are blurring. Anyway, that was one thing. Another thing that came up, or that I thought of, was the Australian colloquialisms for now, and how now related phrases are.
How now?
I mean, I am not Australian and only have had a conversation about this with a couple of people. And so I'm sure there are others who would disagree. But as I understand it, as an outsider and novice, now, from an Australian speaker, Australian liver or person. Why did I say it like that? Now generally means now, or pretty soon, within, maybe the next 10 to 15 minutes, maybe up to an hour, but like pretty much immediately is now. But just now, that might be a little bit later than that. So just now is like, oh, it might be 5 minutes, might be an hour, might be a couple hours. And then now, which I would have assumed is the most immediate term, it actually apparently is like, I'm going to get to it. So it could be anywhere, even within the next few days. So if you say, oh, I'll get to it now is like, oh, it's, at some point. It's more like soon. And then later, good luck with you. It's not happening.
I was trying to think about this, right? Like, in the language around the probability of something happening, then like, what does that mean for the imprecise language? And do we have agreement on like temporality of a thing happening, of like, I'll do it soon, or versus shortly, versus in a minute, versus in a while? Like, does that
versus eventually?
Yeah.
Woof.
Does that have some degree of consistency or not? Right? Like, let's do this.
Right.
If I said to you, I'm going to do that soon, like, what does that mean to you?
So, well, and this is where we should play the game of like, which is sooner, soon or now? I would say now is definitely sooner than soon, right? Okay, so now comes before soon, but now versus in a minute, that now is sooner than in a minute.
Yes,
I think.
Now is sooner, but soon is in a minute coming before soon.
I think in a minute comes before soon.
Yeah.
I also think shortly might come shortly versus in a minute.
Shortly is longer than in a minute.
I kind of agree. Is in a minute sooner than in a moment?
Yep.
Whoa. Yeah. What about in a little while? That is definitely after shortly.
Yeah. In a little while to me means like 30 minutes to a half hour, or 30 minutes to an hour.
It's sooner than soon, but it's definitely which is sooner, in a while or soon?
Soon. Yeah.
I kind of agree. And then, like eventually is bottom.
Yeah.
That is later. In a while probably comes before later.
Yes. Agree.
Wow. All right,
later is like 2 to 5 hours from now.
Yeah. What about into shakes up a lamb's tail?
That's pretty quick.
That is that could happen. That could happen faster than in a minute.
It is. I mean, I guess what I'm realizing is it's like this is measurement language broadly is what we're talking about, which is maybe obvious, but was not how I was mentally contextualizing it. So then, like, what are the things that you measure? Like temperature probably has, like, chili, although it would be like regionally specific, but maybe there is still like agreement within certain places. Like if you said it's chilly in New York, there would be a consistent understanding of temperature broadly versus if you said it's chilly in LA. Like the temperatures wouldn't be the same.
What signals chilly? Yeah, right.
Locally consistent, globally inconsistent.
That's so true. Absolutely. You're so right. Like when the LA people come to New York and are like, it's so cold. And the New Yorkers are like, get a grip.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah. Like where would you set chilly as a temperature in Fahrenheit in New York?
Chilly is a unique interstitial space between comfortable and cold, because it is slightly uncomfortable. But it can't actually be cold. It just is like, I wish I brought a sweater with me.
Chilly is colder than crisp.
Yes, it is. Crisp is like, ooh. Chilly is slightly uncomfortable.
You've just edged into cold.
You're sort of dancing around cold. It's not fully there. Chilly, what would I say? If crisp is mid 60s in Fahrenheit, is chilly high 50s? It's kind of what I'm, maybe low 60s, high 50s.
Chilly, I was going to say chilly is lower 50s.
Even lower than that.
Yeah, but I guess it also depends on sort of time of year, right? Like in the spring, like low 50s would be like, oh, it's nice out.
True. Yeah, there's also a recency element of temperature.
Are you coming from the cold or are you coming from the hot? Yeah.
Right. If you're coming from the hot, a high 50s day, you're like, whoa, I am underdressed for this weather. If yesterday was a 80s day.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting that this language exists within one, that we have consistent measurement language that signals understanding but allows for variance. Like I don't know, I don't know why this is so interesting to me, but it tickles me that like everyone's like, yeah, that's about 70 to 80%, or that's about mid 50s in temperature, or that's about 20 minutes. Like that's enough. Like it doesn't require the same degree of precision. And so we have like imprecise language that at least gets you to where you need to be. Yeah.
Well, and part of it maybe is because when we are using imprecise language, it may be because we are intending to be imprecise.
Yeah.
And yet, in a way, we can't escape that actually has some kind of precise connotation or expectation setting. And that it's, whether conscious or not, probably because of our sort of our sense of that word, that is why we chose it in the first place, even though we aren't saying I'll be there in 12 minutes, which people joke when people in my family like to use such precise estimations because it's so unusual.
Yeah.
But it feels like if we are otherwise choosing these sort of imprecise words, it's because we're opting for box and whisker plots. We're saying like, I have a pretty good guess, but I'm going to give myself some range just in case.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. You're all of these things are ranges, like in the study, and we'll share the graph and everything in the show notes, but they ask someone to give a specific point on like a bar from 0 to 100, and so you had to be precise, but more likely people will probably say like, I don't know, 70 to 80% or something like that. But what winds up happening is by pooling the crowd, you get that range based on where someone puts the midline of their personal like mental graph.
Yeah, totally. Well, and actually, another really great and common example for this, where ranges are rejected but necessary, is in baking, where in a recipe, it'll be like, it could be anywhere from 15 minutes in the oven to 25 minutes in the oven. And people are like, what? That's so wide. Like, how could it be so wide? Just tell me what it is. And it's like, well, I don't know how hot your oven runs, and I don't know how spotty it is, and I don't know what season it is. And like, there's so many
how humid
factors.
it is. Are you at elevation? Like, yeah.
Exactly. And so like in an instance like that, like, to be imprecise is important, and you should be relying on your sensory cues, like, is it golden brown, or is it starting to bubble, or whatever those things are a much better metric for if it is time, and it is likely to be falling within that range. But it's just interesting to think about when it is that we actually reject the range, even though it is probably sensible to use it.
I mean, it's interesting. It makes me think of this study, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but I remember a study coming out a handful of years ago around a discovery as it relates to your cerebellum's like innate ability to do like counting and mathematics and like rhythm keeping and things like that, where it is like, it is so deeply rooted that it is happening in a very old part of your brain. And so it makes me think about the idea that like we are probably thinking about most things in some range to communicate to somebody. Because like even as you were talking, it's like if you talk about how attractive someone is, you will use this imprecise language, but we'll have an agreement that like stunning versus hot versus whatever, pretty or handsome or whatever chosen language.
Oh, that's a more complex web. It's less scalar and more complex, but I'm there with it.
Yeah. It's like we probably are primed to be thinking about things in this like probabilistic way, and you're just trying to like merge probability fields in having conversations with people.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the when you just know what time it is, the immense joy that I get when I go check a timer for like pasta boiling and it's like 3 seconds left because I'm like, I haven't even been paying attention, but something's telling me that it has been 11 minutes.
Yeah.
and, and sure enough, it's pretty close. And you're like,
Yeah.
that's cool.
This happened to me last night. I was doing Emerson's laundry and Becky like yelled from the other room. She's like, is it time to, I had just looked at the clock and it was time to change. She's like, is it time to switch the laundry? And I was like,
Bingo.
it's exactly
Well,
the moment.
It is.
Like,
it is. How did you know?
I have a friend who is super good at guessing what the time, like we'll be out in the woods for ages. He hasn't like looked at a clock or anything. And someone will be like, do you know what time it is? And he'll be like, hold on. Like, don't look. And then he'll be like, 4:17. And it's usually within like 3 or 4 minutes. Like,
pretty good.
Yeah. Everyone's like, it's like 3:45 and like way off. And he's like, the number of times where he gets it exactly right is just like very satisfying to him. But right, like that thing is like, have you ever been in those moments where you're like, why did I just think of 47? And then you're like, oh, I was counting the steps without thinking about it at all, And then I got to the top of the steps and I was like, there are 47 steps. Great. I don't know why my brain was doing it, but it's just like counting all the time.
Just in there. Wow. Maybe we know and are more precise about more things than we think.
Maybe we are. Do you want to take us to our probabilistic wrap-up corner?
All right. So here is the final list of times that we got to, and I'm curious. Please feel free to reach out and tell us we're wrong. But here is our list of soonness of timing phrases in order of soonest. Now, in a minute, in a moment, in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Shortly, in a little while, soon, in a while, later, eventually.
Yeah, I think that feels right. Although soon, I think, is before in a little while.
You think soon is before in a little while?
Yeah.
I feel like soon is, well, maybe it's that soon has a broader range, but the median is closer. All right. Well,
we did it.
Cogitate on that. Ruminate on that. That's all.
Marinate. Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by It's Cold Outside. Baby, it's cold.
As always.
Crisp. Okay.
We'd like to thank our executive producer and perfectly comfortable Jess Vander.
Thank you. We'd also like to thank sound engineer and the ultimate precise instrument, Alex Contel.
We'd like to thank our programming coordinator and the Goldilocks zone, Les Jacobs.
Oh, that's really good. And our global maxima, the production crew, Sarah Gilbert, Nora Mesrich, Christy Jensen, Amanda Medina, and Amy Waters.
And as always, thanks, Helen.
Thank you.
Special thanks. Little math thing that I also saw recently. You want to know a trick around square roots of like whole numbers?
Okay.
If you make a box out of the number of dots that you put in it, the square root is the number on one side. So if you do like the square root of 4 and you make a box with 4 squares, and then the square root of 4 is 2. You make a box for the square root of 9. You make a box with 9 squares, like 3 rows of 3. The square root of 9 is 3. And I was like, it doesn't work for everything, but it's like, is that how square roots work?
I think that's just how square roots are.
Yeah.
It's the square root. Is that how they were discovered?
I have no idea, but I was like, square roots are like, oh, you do the math and whatever. You're like, wait, no one ever said like, this is why square roots are relevant. It was just like, okay, now we're doing square roots and this is what it is and that's how you do it and great. And I'm like, when are, like I never had to do anything in real life where square roots were relevant to my completing the exercise. And so I never thought about it. And seeing this as a person was just like doing it in chalk, like on a sidewalk. And I was like, but it's also like at the edge of like, I still don't know enough to like fully contextualize what this means, but I'm closer. And I was like, sometimes math is fun.
Whoa. Honestly, when you look up square roots, you get all kinds of shapes. The spiral of Theodorus is a spiral composed of right triangles. And the way it works is that one leg has to be the hypotenuse of the prior right triangle with the length of the square root of that. Oh God, this is why people smarter than me.
I'm like looking back up square roots and I'm like having, you're like, right, is the number multiplied by itself that then gives you the bigger number so that's how you get there. But I'm still like, oh right, I remember this now. I'm like getting there, but I'm like, but why is it relevant? Like. But
that's not even. I mean, maybe you figure that out later, but first it's just, is it a rule that can be proven? And that's the fun of math. If only I had any competency at it.
Yeah, I'm just like, a number which when multiplied by itself equals another number. Square roots can be written using a radical symbol or a rational exponent. And I'm like, I get what it is, but agreed, like, Theodosius or whoever you were talking about, like, how did we get there that it is relevant? Like I'm
going. Just keep trying stuff. You just think, now what can I do? What could I do? And thus math is creativity. Whoa.
But like a pi as an example, I'm like, okay, I understand how you like got here and trying, like figuring out how big circles are and like different aspects of geometry. I'm like, how do we get to square roots as a thing? Like I don't have enough context around it where I'm like,
need more deductive proofs just to take you there. That's the whole point. It's like, allow me to take you on a journey, spin you a yarn, and explain how it is that we got to the spiral of Theodorus up to the triangle with the hypotenuse of square root 17.
Yeah.
That's all I have. What do I know? Nothing at all about this.
Yeah. We're outside of our comfort zone is what this is.
Here it is. This knock knock. I'm wondering
square roots and negative complex numbers, like fully outside of. Wow. Do you hold on.
Whoa, look at all these cool things. Well, this must be really fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Bye.
Do you know what a Klein bottle is? Look up a Klein bottle. That's weird. Anyways.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Love you, Mina. Bye.